They do a nice job with that, but it's like it's not entertaining.
Yeah. Woo. Ooh. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Hi, this is Jet Johnson, FC Dallas fan and lover of all things Third Degree. Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by Soccer 90, your source for FC Dallas, U.S. national team, and international club gear. North Texas SC has kicked off a new season, and the new home jersey is on sale now, exclusively on soccer90.com. Pre-order yours now while supplies last. Third Degree listeners receive 20% off their order when you use code Third Degree at checkout. Some exclusions may apply.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas curious fans. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Third Degree, the podcast. Number, please, boss?
156.
Hi, it's me, Peter, and here in this digital workspace alongside me, first, Dan Crooke. Howdy, Dan.
Hey, this is super digital. Wow.
It is very digital. It's the magic of digital. And, of course, your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of thirddegree.net, and somebody you should be giving your money to, the good Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Peter, I am still recovering from the shock and awe of a Dan Crooke training sighting this week. Yes.
It's true. I had a day off work where they were actually training, and I was like, I will go to that training then.
Yeah.
So was the majority of the Third Degree staff the limit of the media in attendance at said training?
No, John Arnold was there, but other than that, that was it.
Ah, the good John Arnold. Of course he was there. All right, very good. Well, at least there were people there, right?
Yeah. It was more than there was the week before when there was nobody but me.
Well, since we spoke last time, the good guys traveled to Chicago to face Shaqiri, the Fire, in the extremely empty giant NFL stadium known as Soldier Field. And the result was, oh my gosh, the donuts of all donuts. Every once in a while, we are aware that it is possible that a goalless game of football can be extremely exciting. And there's one that's happened recently that I'm forgetting. Oh, I think it was what was the game that was so good that was 0-0? It was like the 0-0 draw of the game of the last decade that just happened a few weeks ago. Was it it was a European game. What was it? Was it a Champions League game? I don't remember.
I don't either.
It was so good. Gosh. Everybody said, man, that's the best 0-0 draw. Anyway, my point is those things happen. But then you get 0-0 draws more like this. And when the two teams combined can't even produce an XG of 1 together, man, that was a slog of a watch. And thank God it was on Univision. Dallas 0, Chicago 0. Buzz, I'm going to say you get your points on the road and you win at home, you're doing your job. So maybe there shouldn't be too much to fuss about here.
Yeah, this is a dour game. And only in the context of a tie on the road, a point on the road, is it good. Chicago has blanked like 3 straight opponents coming in. They've allowed 1 goal on the year. They're a very, very defensive team, very boring. They basically sit back and let Shaqiri try and do something magical, and he subbed out early, so there was very little threat from them. They don't have any threat in transition. Just overall not a good game. And you're talking about a Dallas team that was missing from the starting lineup anyway, Jesus and Paul Arriola, 2 of their biggest threats. You're talking about a Dallas team that is also one of the lowest goals allowed teams in this league this year, a team that has emphasized defense early in the season. So this was 2 teams both playing mid to low block defense and not really capable of breaking the other team down. You ended up with 9 shots to 5 and only 1 shot on goal each. I mean, there was maybe 2 real chances in the whole game either way, and it was not high entertainment dollar value. The only value I got from it was watching Dallas go through their paces of their defensive mid-block and making themselves very hard to break down.
Before we move into the game, can we talk about the Shaqiri situation real quick?
Sure.
Because this is one of those deals that gets back to the idea of Major League Soccer signing these kind of end-of-career, big-name European stars. Now, I haven't seen a lot of in fact, prior to this, I had seen 0 minutes of Shaqiri in a Fire shirt. But what I've read and heard from other people is that he's been okay, but not outstanding, not stellar. But I'm telling you, as a person that's watched this game for a long time and played it at an extremely, extremely low level, that did not look like a guy. If that game had been Liverpool versus Man U, I don't think he comes out of that game in the 16th minute with whatever clearly small, niggling little calf injury. Did anybody else see that and pick up on that?
I wouldn't have gone so far as to say it seemed like he wasn't interested. It definitely looked like a guy who wasn't sure if he should be playing. That like maybe he had something bothering him and he shouldn't have. Like this was probably the wrong choice, especially when like Coach Nico told me that they got caught off guard by the weather. So I'm assuming the same thing probably happened to Chicago. So, maybe 10 minutes in the game when it's starting to sleet, he's probably like, I'm done. So.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, he's listed now a few days later as day to day. The way he came off and the way he kind of jogged off the field, I just wondered if that had been like a really serious EPL game, if he would have come out of that. And what I'm getting back to is this idea that MLS buys guys and brings them in that maybe aren't fully invested in the same way they would be if they were 23 playing for a major European club. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, you're not looking at a guy that's motivated to make his bones in his career. You're looking at a guy who's already made his bones and he's just happy to be playing probably. That kind of thing. And I'm not saying this is what he's doing because I've not seen enough of him. I'm just saying that kind of thing. Higuain in Miami, same problem. Gerrard in LA, same problem.
Yeah.
Now, if you hit on Keane in LA, great. If you hit on Chicharito in LA, great. But a lot of the times these things are just a guy picking up a paycheck while he plays some golf. I mean, Suter probably was pretty good for Dallas back in the day, right? I mean, that was kind of the same vibe, right? So
yeah,
it's possible you can hit it, but you really got to do your homework and make sure you got the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, and in fairness to Shaqiri, he had played all of the previous games. I think he played 90 minutes in all those games. So maybe he's just overused or whatever, and it's totally legit. It just, I don't know. Between the weather and the speed of the game and kind of the ugliness of the situation, you could just get this weird sense. He's like, do I really should I really be here at this? Do they really need me right now?
Not in that weather. They don't. No. Yeah.
No, probably not. It was not an attractive game by any means, but I do think, Buzz, the big headline out of this game was your instant question I think you were tweeting about when the lineups came out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for you, on the heels of you writing that really, really good kind of update and review on Edwin to this point, that Cerrillo did not start and Facundo did. Do we know? I think you ended up talking to Nico and you know why that took place.
Yeah, 100% it's because of my article.
It's your fault.
No, it's not actually. It was multifaceted. The one obvious thing is that even though they had a week off, this coach is particularly worried about workload with his team this season, particularly those three midfielders. So Faco, according to coach, had a really, really good week of training, and he wanted to reward that good training. And he said that Edwin was looking a little comfortable, that Edwin was feeling pretty good about himself and pretty good about his position. And he wanted to make a point in a way that, not at Edwin specifically, that anybody can get a game off and can sit down. And that, not that Edwin needed to be sat down, but if this guy's playing as good as he can and I'm going to sit him down, then anybody can be sat down. And the last one was, as I mentioned before, that Chicago's not a team that transitions quickly. They build slowly, so there wasn't really a threat of somebody going to run by Faco. So it's a game that makes some sense in terms of, if I want to get him in and get Edwin a game off, this is a good matchup to do that. I don't need Edwin's side-to-side endless work rate engine. So it's all of those things combined, and nothing to do with my article. Just multiple factors that led to this was a good opportunity to get a guy in there. And that's a good thing, actually, to have some squad rotation to keep guys in check. Hey, don't forget, there's other dudes here playing well. You got to bring it every day. So all part of it.
All right, so let's talk about Facundo for a second because I ended up not watching the game till today on the DVR, and I watched it without sound because I don't speak Spanish, and for whatever reason the English version doesn't come across on my DVR, so I watched it silently and admittedly distracted for long stretches of what would ended up being an extremely boring 90 minutes of soccer, but I was watching just intently enough to ask the following question. Should Facundo have even been in that game for a full 90 minutes? I thought he was really close to getting a second yellow and probably should have given up the PK. I thought that was a pretty decent shout for Chicago on the penalty shout.
Yeah, it's interesting that I didn't think he had a very good game. He looked like he was a split second off the decision-making pace in the midfield, and went in hard a couple times on guys. I didn't like that. Definitely was a chance that was going to be a penalty. I don't know whether I think it was or not, but it definitely was close enough that it could have been for sure. So it's not what I would have called an ideal game for him. Basically I just thought he was an average MLS holding mid, and he's not going to get any better, because of how old he is. So, and Edwin is. So, there's no reason why Edwin's not going to be the guy in that spot for the majority of the time. But I thought he was okay in relatives to I need a guy that can play some games. He wasn't so bad that you can't put him back in there. Definitely bad enough that I don't want him in there a lot. So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. It was just mediocre.
But I thought the two that did look good, at least in the context of this game, were Paxton and Cervania.
Yeah, Cervania, I like you, didn't get to watch the game till this morning. So I felt like that was too late in the week to do a three things because many people have written about the game already. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But Brandon Cervania, I thought was my man of the match, actually. I thought he did an immense amount of work. He and Paxton both sat deeper when Faka was in there. They were noticeably back in that mid-block look. Again, that's either a reaction to Faka or that's the idea that we've seen from this team on the road, which is they want to kill the game for about 60 to 70 minutes and then kind of go for it a little bit more. And they sort of sit into this mid-block, and it almost looks like a 4-5-1 a lot of the game, particularly when they didn't have Jesus up top and Franco Jara's more static. So they weren't looking to spring as quickly. So those guys were both sitting in, and I thought Brandon did a really nice job defensively assisting. And he was one of the highest rated players for the team, depending on whatever website you looked at. Paxton was also good, but I thought Brandon was particularly good in this case. And the minute they brought Edwin in, both those guys stepped up about 10 yards further up the field, back to the normal shape, and the team immediately got more aggressive going forward, and it was noticeable that was the difference.
Other observations, Franco Jara up top. Guy just, unfortunately, I appreciate his effort, but he does look like a guy playing one age group too young.
Yeah,
for himself.
Yeah, definitely a guy who the game has passed by. The difference that he does know how to play the role Jesus plays, and so he tries to do that. And you can watch that front line; it almost looks inverted where he's deeper, and he does build and he does hold and he does facilitate the build in the same way as Jesus. But then he doesn't have Jesus's motor and explosion back into the gap. And that's the difference. That's all that matters between those two guys is that one thing, that one quality. And that's all that keeps Dallas from being in this game effectively capable of scoring. The only way I felt like there was even going to be a chance was Velasco do something special by himself. Because even like Obrian, who has the verticality, when he would get forward, there was nobody else to get involved with because Franco Jara couldn't get back up there with him. So as much as it's like it fits stylistically, he's capable of fitting stylistically. It's just and there really isn't anybody else. I mean, the third choice is Benny Regic, and that's just not gonna go either. I don't think so.
No,
it's a problem actually.
Yeah, there was my personal concern about Nico's system is that it's not a system set up to create tons of opportunities, even when you've got your best players in there. But with Obrian and Franco Jara at the same time, for different reasons, they both tend to kludge the system up even worse. And part of why that game was so start-stop in many ways, I think were related specifically to those two guys and Facundo as well. It was such a weird, stuttery game all the way for both sides all the way through. I'm sure the weather had something to do with that. and all of it. It was odd. Obrian, again, was so Jadir. I do want to say something nice about him. That pass that he made in like the 73rd minute, that almost sprung Jesus, was a fantastic pass. So I don't want everybody to think I just blow bad on Hadir all the time, because that was a good moment. But man, the rest of it was really hard to watch.
Yeah, he like I said, when he has somebody that can work with him, when Jesus is up there and Jesus is, he's going by Jesus in the lateral way that he does. Jesus has the ability to recover and get there and combine with him. Velasco probably has that, but is still probably not played with Obrian a lot in order to know exactly how to do that yet. That's probably a work in progress. So Obrian, as always with Obrian, there's the pro and the con, the good and the bad. This one in particular was bad until Jesus came in, and then it got considerably better. As you say, that one pass in particular was very nice.
All right. Now, Dan, we know from the discussion prior to recording that you were not able to watch the game. Has anything we've said in the last 10, 15 minutes made you want to go back and watch the game?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. We're just checking.
I think I'm just going to delete it from my DVR right now.
All right. You might want to do that. All right. Yeah. So I also wanted to make sure you hadn't dozed off. Okay. I do want to talk about Velasco, because every opportunity to see Alan Velasco play is one of high interest for me. And a couple of notes about this. He clearly is still figuring out the league, and it's pretty clear to me he's going to have to work a little harder at winning his duels. He was probably beaten in his duels a little more than I think we all would like to see. But again, that's probably a lot of it's just figuring out the league and the type of defenders he's having to face.
Yeah, part of it too is that he was the most fouled guy in the game. There's not a lot of. I think he got fouled 6 times or something like that.
Yeah.
He did win his duels at 60%, statistically speaking, which is not terrible. He's so small, he gets knocked over a lot, and he gets fouled a lot. And I do worry about, the idea that a guy that skillful, you want him to get the MVP's type protection from the referees to look out for that kind of stuff. But I think you're right that he will learn as time goes forward. He will learn in this league who is going to be a problem in that way, and how to get away from people and what kind of calls he's going to get and not get. So this is part of why we talk about guys taking like 6 months to adapt. I mean, imagine where he's going to be when he gets that 6 months under his belt, right? I mean, it's pretty exciting.
It's fun to watch, and it's exciting to watch, because he and Paxton both are really good at making and executing passes into open space and really allowing this team to move forward and positively. Paxton, on a few occasions early in the game, just made really, really smart and executed smart passes to players who were clearly in the open space and kind of breaking Chicago down a little bit. But then, of course, it all kind of fell apart in the final third. Velasco is very good in that same way. And you were speaking about fouls. I'm convinced more now than ever that VAR has a silent, hey, help me out here system going on, because that foul in the game, I think it was like the 70-something or 80-something minute, where Velasco gets fouled by that, what's that guy's name? It ends up getting the yellow card. It was over by the benches, and the guy kind of turns Velasco over, and he calls the foul, and he comes over, and then there's an extended period of time, and when the camera comes back from the replay, you can see Jesus kind of berating the official, and the official's like, hold on, give me a second, give me a chance, and he shows the guy yellow. I'm convinced more than ever that the center officials are utilizing guys on replay to help them if they've missed yellows. Now, that's a component of VAR that isn't supposed to be in the system, but I'm more convinced than ever, because I see this sometimes in England and other leagues, that system is being used as a tool for executing those things.
Yeah, there's no question that both the fourth official and both assistant referees do that for sure. So yes. It's entirely possible that pause is the fourth official saying he totally got him, or the linesman, and I honestly think I'm with you. Actually, I think that the VAR official, who is an official, is working with the entire team. And maybe he's not looking at replay, but maybe he's looking at, the play as it happens and saying, that one's got to be looked at or not looked at, or like, oh, that's got to have to be. You might want to take a look. Think about the card there if your guys are chiming in. I mean, I think it's a team thing.
Well, it may be. The only reason why I am putting the conspiracy theory that it's related to video replay in this particular instance, and I've seen this in some other leagues. Everybody pay attention to this in the future and see if I'm wrong. Is that his showing of the yellow card just maybe coincidentally coincides with the completed reshowing of the replay of the incident?
Yeah, you might be right.
And I just wonder if maybe somebody's watching the replay going, yeah, that should be a yellow, and saying that to him. Because I've seen, Dan, have you ever noticed that in any other league or anytime you've watched it all?
From a commentator?
No. The referee showing a yellow card, but it seems like it takes him a while to show the yellow card, and it always seems to happen after the replay has been shown. Like maybe like the fourth official sees the replay and goes down, yeah, that's probably a yellow, you missed it.
No, I vaguely remember a referee getting in trouble because they glanced at a scoreboard and while a replay was playing, it led to a red card decision. But
yeah,
that's likely. Yeah, look at the scoreboard.
They're so adamant about video replay not being like a live component of the game that, I mean, most leagues now don't even, they won't let the scoreboard show any of that sort of stuff.
All right. Well, you're not going to go back and watch this game, but if for any reason anybody wants to go back, just tell me it's not weird that the guy takes so long to issue what we all thought was a pretty obvious yellow. It only happens after the replay is shown on television. So just FYI, just a side note that I picked up on. The other thing I wanted to talk about Velasco is this interesting note. Do you know at this moment in time, Velasco is tied for second in the league in nutmegs with 4?
I did not know that.
He is. He's tied for second in the league with 4. He executed 3 of them in the game against Chicago. Now, I'm working diligently to try to find out if there's some way to know what the most numbers of successful megs by one player in a game is, but 3 is a pretty high number. Currently, DeRussi and Austin is in number 1 with 5, and then Reynoso and Zelarayan in Columbus are tied with Allen at 4, and Acosta at Cincinnati at 3. And that got me digging into a rabbit hole because I think MLS needs to come up with a new award, which is the MLS Meg Master of the Year. For the person that executes the most nutmegs in a season. And it turns out that if my record searching is correct, they didn't start tracking nutmegs until the year 2018. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. You with me? Anybody interested in this?
No, I'm with you. I don't
Dan, are you interested in this? Are you napping still?
Yeah, I'm interested.
Okay, you don't sound very interested, but I'm going to go with this anyway.
This is going to be like the sack stat that wasn't recorded until like 97 or whatever.
Right, yes. In 2018, the debut MLS Meg Master of the Year was Quintero, who was playing for Minnesota at that particular year. He was in first place with 18 nutmegs.
Okay.
Completed in a season. If you want to know... Pablo Aranguiz was the highest numbered Dallas player at number 43 in the league. I think he had 3 that season. 2019, it was Carlos Vela for LAFC with 13. The most highest FCD person was Barrios that year. In fact, Barrios set an FCD record that year with 8, and he was 6th in the league. In 2020, it was Quintero again when he was playing for Houston. He had 8 that season. Brian Reynolds was number 33 in the league with 3. And last year, the number 1 Meg Master of the Year again was Reynoso up in Minnesota. Not again, but a guy from Minnesota. It was Reynoso with 17. And all the way down at number 65 was the top FCD Meg Master, one Franco Jara with 3.
Well, I feel like Velasco will be higher on the list at least than some previous Dallas players. Yeah.
We may actually, in the club's for the first time in club history, we may actually have an MLS Meg Master of the Year contender.
Well, considering he's only played 3 games too, that's pretty. And he'll get a much higher rate. Once he gets more games under his belt. Obviously,
I love a good Meg.
Yeah, me too. By the way, he is.
Apparently, Dan
Yeah.
does not like the nutmeg.
Dan's out on it. By the way, Velasco's been fouled eight
Sorry,
times.
allergies are kicking my ass today.
Yeah. Velasco's been fouled 8 times in 3 games, and the league leader is Cesar Araujo, the Orlando playmaker, who's got 21 in 6 games. So he's a little off that pace, but he's definitely high up there. And if he continues to be more and more impactful, I think he'll start getting targeted. So that'll be something to keep a track of this season.
Maybe I'm just overestimating everybody's love of the nutmeg. I thought everybody loved a good nutmeg.
No. I think that's a great stat. I mean, I don't think it tells you a lot, but I think it's going to be a fun stat people can get behind. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to get awarded the nutmeg, the Meg Master of the Year award at the end of the season?
Apparently Dan does not.
Dan, do you have just a personal problem? Have you been nutmegged too many times in your own life that you just hate it that much?
No, I'm always careful. No. You always get that little flashy shit who tries to nutmeg everyone, or even worse, to like panna, and then you end up 2-footing them, and then they get upset about it, and things just get out of hand then.
Yeah.
All right. So you're not anti-nutmeg?
I'm not anti-nutmeg. It's always really satisfying when you pull one out.
Okay. Are you excited or enthused at all that Dallas has a Meg Master of the Year contender?
It just sounds like a terrible name.
Yeah, the branding needs a little work. Meg Master.
What, Meg Master? You don't like that?
I don't know. Yeah.
I thought it was great. I'm running with it. It's my idea.
Yeah, it is your idea.
Screw you people. I'm going to make it work.
Yeah, you're like the GIF guy. Call it what you want.
That's right. I made it up. I'm going to call it whatever,
it's your thing.
Whatever I want.
Yeah.
The other thing that dawned on me, because they executed 0 shots on goal, I still have no idea exactly how good our new goalkeeper is, because he never has to do anything.
They had 1 technically. Yeah, he has 6 saves on the year, which is remarkable. I mean, that's what I think, that you cannot talk about the FC Dallas this season without talking about the way they limit opportunities. It's incredible that you have a keeper through 6 games have 1 shot, like 1 save a game, basically. That's remarkably good defense. And it has to do with the system, and it has to do with where they're playing it. It's all on coaching, because it's almost the same guys. You can't put it on Nanu being the difference. Same set of player. Farfan versus Hollingshead is a big difference. I should give you people credit for that one, because that's an offensive to defensive swing. So that could be part of it. Edwin's in there full time. That's part of it. Martinez is in there full time, maybe understanding the system. With Dan, was it you that pointed out to me this week the idea that, Martinez knowing how the Spanish style and the Spanish system that this coach wants to use probably is a big factor in why he's been the choice so much this year. The guy that
was something we were talking about at practice. I know Nico's big on, the people that can translate his vision, so that being Paul Arriola, Paxton Pomykal, Jesus Ferreira. So it makes total sense that, what his fellow countryman, someone that's come through La Liga, the overall LFP system would be kind of a natural fit for that as well.
Yeah, that just goes back to the idea of limiting opportunities and limiting chances. It's not just that, Paz has made some good saves too when the moments he's required to. That's going to be the thing for him. Any Dallas keeper this year is, can you be in it and focused and ready when the chance does come?
Yeah, well, I do think we were also worried and freaked out about the front end of this team.
Yeah.
We all know a big problem last year was the back half of the team, and they really have just made incredible strides in correcting a lot of those problems from last season. And maybe we don't spend enough time talking about how much improved they are defensively. For whatever the reason, it's significantly better. Now, I do want to mention, because I know that we've all been kind of back and forth 50-50 on this, where is the Nanu meter running at these days, Buzz?
Well, I thought he was, took a step forward in this game, so I will give him the credit of he has taken a step forward in each game I've watched. I still don't think it's particularly great. It's just average to me. There's my problem there isn't that he's not okay. It's that I don't see enough to think I wanted to stifle the progression of a guy, a domestic guy, a guy that you've invested a couple of years in. I think if granted, like anybody other player, he'll need time to adapt to the league until he gets it really figured out. So it may be that, at the 2/3 way of this season, he may be just crushing it, Nanu. But I just don't, right now, I don't see enough that makes me think that he is worth whatever they're paying for and worth whatever he might actually cost if you do eventually want to buy him, for a guy that's a little later in his career. He's like, he's more of everybody on the back line actually is a relatively, prime of career kind of player. Even Farfan is a little bit younger, is not crazy younger. So that could all be a factor in the stability. But I don't think that the stability is that different from when Tuamasi started the games at the beginning of the year versus when Nanu come in. I don't think it's changed anything. So, just change for change's sake sometimes to me is not necessarily the good idea. And that's what I feel like it is.
Let's talk about that unfortunate moment very late in the game. Nanu very nicely traps a fantastic ball as he makes a fantastic run into the box. Should he have passed, or should he have just been a little bit better in his shooting?
He should have carried it another, touch to me. You want to, there's no defender coming at you from the middle yet. The center backs have not converged. The keeper is staying at home. So you want to carry one more dribble, if you will, one more touch, if you will, in order to make the keeper do something. Either convince yourself completely that he's going to stay at home, or a center back comes, or he comes, and then you can shoot closer or play it across to Jesus, who was mad that he didn't get the ball. But I was like, Jesus, your center back was still with you. Until that center back comes, then you can lay it off to a wide open Jesus. So I wanted another 6 or 7 yards carry and then lay off or shoot. That's what I wanted him to do.
So not shoot, not pass, but take an extra touch.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he had another 15 yards, 12 yards of space before he would have been closed down by either the keeper or a center back would have come. And so I think you wait for the defense to adapt and make a mistake. And if they never come, then, the angle's going to open for you because the keeper's going to be deep, or he starts to come and the goal opens up, or the center back comes and the center forward opens up. Yeah. It's rare that I tell you that I wanted a guy to keep going and hold it longer, but that was a rare case of where I did.
Okay. Anybody else we want to talk about from the 0-0 draw up in Soldier Field? The very, very empty, lowest attendance of the weekend, Soldier Field.
Well, I want to tell a story that I'm annoyed about because I think you have some information on it, because you didn't listen to the commentators, and I listened to the English commentators on the Univision game. And they when early in the game they're talking about Farfan coming to the team, and they said something about FC Dallas accommodating Ryan Hollingshead's request to go back to California, and I thought, what are you talking about? That's not what happened. And I know that you have information specifically on that, so I wanted you to get a chance to chime in.
Well, yeah, and I think we've even mentioned this on the pod that I have from an extremely good source that Ryan was totally unaware that he was being traded, and it was a surprise. Now, whether or not he's ultimately happy about that, I think we all can figure out that going back to L.A. may work out for him in many ways and aspects, but he did not ask for a trade.
Yeah.
In fact, he didn't even know it was happening until they told him he was being traded, at least according to my source. So
yeah, I would not be at all shocked that he's not happy to be back in California. I'm sure that he is. But to claim that he asked to go and asked for a trade that's false. That's not true. So, I'm sure that they got their narrative from, some website or whatever, or who knows where they looked it up, or I'd hate to think someone's passing along false information from the organization. That would not be good.
No, there was, I think a lot of people just assumed, and I think early when that first thing happened, there was a lot of speculation that he had asked to be traded or said, hey, if you guys are going to move me, I'd love to go back to California kind of thing. And maybe that's where somebody trying to do some prep for a broadcast just came up a little short, but no, that is in fact not the case.
Yeah, right.
To be true.
Yeah, not that we don't really like Farfan, but it's let's be honest about how these things work. You can't make up these narratives that aren't true.
Yeah, I'm gonna and Dan's really good about having a better outlay across the league. I'm going to ask the question again: is there another signing on another MLS team this year that has paid off as well for that team, specific to the position they were hired to fill than Farfan has for Dallas. I'm not sure there is.
I can't think of one. I mean, your big hopes are, especially, funnily enough, Kasper Shabilko for Chicago, or any of the ones that San Jose have signed, and there's really not been that much output from any of those.
I just watched that kid play, and I think he's really good defensively, and his kind of working into the team, into the attack is kind of happening a little by little. I don't see him put too many wrong foots in a game, and as I just think it through across the league, that may end up being one of the best signings of the year league wide.
The only one I can think of that might be close is Sebastian Lletget with New England.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good And
he's a really excellent player, and that was a really good team that got better. So that's if that's what pushes them over the line. I originally was thinking Altidore with them, but he doesn't start most games where Lletget does. And that's a legit signing.
Wow.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry.
Buzz.
I had to wreck it. How does he not wear number 2? What is wrong with that guy? It's ridiculous.
Well, then you'd get pissy about him being a midfielder wearing that number.
Who?
Sebastian Lletget, because it would be too legit.
Oh my gosh.
That would be the best.
Why did you do that like 2 in a row? Yeah.
No, that would be way too legit.
Would that get an exception? A Buzz Carrick jersey number exception paper?
Absolutely, yeah. That'd be like if your last name was 0, like you can wear 0. I'm okay with that if your last name is 0.
So kind of like what's his name, Dempsey, wearing 2.
Yeah, well, that's Dempsey's nickname Deuce is because he wore 2, which is backwards. But yeah.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was because he was a bit of a shit at times.
No. Wow. He just messed with the goat. What is he doing?
I don't know. He's clearly not from here.
Told you, allergies are just kicking my ass today.
Yeah.
You're extra lifeless today, Dan. I'm worried about you.
It's spring. We all are.
Okay. Well, as we said, Chicago 0, Dallas 0. You got the point on the road. That's good. Dallas's next game comes up this weekend. Newly married Michael Barrios comes to town with the Colorado Rapids. That game kicks off at 7:30. We also saw on the interwebs that Michael Barrios, as I said, is married. He got wedded to a woman slightly taller than him, which isn't a surprise.
I mean, isn't everybody?
My question is that the same woman that he was in a relationship with that we all saw selling knockoff tennis shoes and purses on Facebook?
I honestly don't know. I can't keep up with that kind of stuff.
Do you remember that?
No, in fact, I actually thought he was already married. I don't know why I thought that. I was really surprised. I thought maybe when I saw those pictures, I was like, oh, he renewed his vows. And they were like, no, he got married. I was like, oh. Man, I was out of the loop on that one.
Do you remember that story, Dan, about his girlfriend or wife selling knockoff stuff online on Facebook?
Vaguely. But,
she had a Facebook page, and you could go get like knockoff Nikes and Adidas and Louis Vuitton stuff. And then when it kind of got out that it was out there, it mysteriously disappeared. If I remember the story correctly.
Yeah, everyone's got to grind these days.
Side hustle.
Side hustle, yeah. I do.
Dan, if you could sell you could sell a fake something, what would it be?
Hope.
Oh, wow.
Oh, got really deep there.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, we do marketing, so it's fake something, surely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to dump that on your lap, Dan, that big old bomb right there. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about here? Pepi and Jesus on the U.S. men's national team is scribbled in the red crayon on the run sheet. So what's that about, Buzzard?
Well, I just wanted this week was fascinating to me because we had the 3 games, and it was Pepi, then it was Jesus, then it was Pepi. And then I was listening to the broadcast, and all the commentators on that broadcast were speculating that, like, if you had the World Cup like this week, that Jesus would probably start over Pepi. And I was watching, Jesus play, come back immediately, and thinking about how if things are going well for Dallas, he's going to score a fairly good amount of goals. Whereas Pepi's gone to a team, and we talked about this when he made the move, where he does not get service. And Pepi needs service to score. Pepi's a great goal scorer, but he doesn't do. Jesus can dribble 2 dudes and score. Pepi doesn't do that. So,
and now he's not even the striker.
Yeah.
He's kind of playing this weird, wide, like super wide right striker. It's weird formation.
Yeah. Well, that's what Lucci did with him too when they had, somebody else was playing striker and they were trying to get Pepi minutes, as he did the same thing. So, I think you can't help but wonder when you're looking at the situations with, what are we, 8 months from the World Cup?
7.5, just under 7.5 months.
Yeah. Right. So, which one of those, like, you would on paper, right? Most people would be like, oh yeah, do the Europe. That's better. Is it? Maybe long term, I would agree with you, but short term, we talked about this at the time.
Yeah.
Did Pepi make the right choice if he wants to be? I don't even mean like at this point, maybe not even the starter. I mean, like, he could play himself out of the roster if he doesn't get service and get goals for Augsburg, right? Because Berhalter likes form.
Well, at this point, he's essentially Josh Sargent.
Right.
Ugh, that's terrible.
And the way that the national team likes to play is the same way FC Dallas plays. So Jesus is playing in the same system that the head coach of the national team wants, playing the same movement-based striker, build-based striker. They object when you call it a false 9, so that's fine. Movement-based striker. It's the exact same system, so it's easy to change back and forth. Pepi's playing in a different system, different ball game completely. So,
when I
can't help.
When I turned on the Augsburg game the other day, they were playing this weird 4-4-2 setup. He wasn't playing as a wing, Buzz, in the sense that you're thinking of it. They're playing as 2 strikers, and they have, for defensive reasons, they have in this particular game against was it Werder Bremen? I can't remember. What's the team Brooks is on?
Not
Wolfsburg. Yeah, I think they were playing Wolfsburg. They had him like playing way out wide on the right, and he was just not near the box enough, at least during the part of the game that I saw. And I'm just telling you, I've seen enough Ricardo Pepi to know when he's got like negative body language, and it's like he's soaked in it right now. Now, apparently later in the game, he had some more opportunities that maybe he should have done more with. I didn't see that part, but for the 30 minutes of the game I watched, man, he just essentially I spent 30 minutes watching him just jog and run around and not really have much interaction, if any, with the ball. Like literally in the 30 minutes I watched the game, I think he touched the ball twice.
Yeah, this season's going to end, and Augsburg, if they stay up, things are going to change, or maybe he might, who else, go to another team. So it's not the end of the world, but I just can't help but think, like, right this minute, boy, it sure looks like Jesus is in a better position to get himself into that team in the first place and maybe even be the guy. That's in a lot of ways, that's a turning of the tables, at least in a short-term way.
And it is a really weird situation to imagine yourself in if you are Ricardo or his family or his representatives, and at the same time being the Hunts and Zanata and this opportunity, which is where do you balance this? Is it the $20 million? Is it the massive increase in salary? Is it the idea, the premise of going to Europe, balancing against the realities of what kind of team am I going to? Are they any good? Do they fit me stylistically? And I always wonder how much of that really goes into the conversation, or is it, oh, here's a team in Europe that wants me. Oh my God, they're willing to pay us how much for me? And then, of course, I have to go, no matter what other component does or doesn't fit, right? And I always and we talk about this all the time. We talked about it back with the Breck Shea story. Like, we all knew Breck going to Stoke was the dumbest thing in the entire world, but there was money on the table and an opportunity, so why not do it?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of times these decisions get made based on, like, look, it is important that they want you. That's huge, but it's not just the whole organization. It's the coach specifically that wants you, because you have to get to a place where he thinks you're the answer to some problem he has, so that you're going to be in all the time. Obviously money's a factor. Obviously the reputation of the club or the ability to move on from there, if it's a stepping stone club, is important. But I'm with you. Like, in hindsight, we can look at Reynolds with Roma, that was the wrong fit for him, which I don't know that we knew that in the moment, because they really, really liked him organizationally, coach and thing. And then they fired the coach. And so now it's a nightmare for him, in terms of where he's gone. So, that's a total opposite example where, he was on the verge. If he'd have played in with Roma this year, he might have gotten himself that right back job. And now he's like fifth because he's not playing.
Yeah.
So, you can look at any guy on that's left FC Dallas. Tanner was in a spot where he could have maybe played himself in, and he's gone to a team where he hasn't really broken in like Busio has, and so Busio's getting choices ahead of him. Now, I know Tanner's really happy where he is, so I don't think he was thinking like I was in the mix for this World Cup cycle and anything like that. So, everything's relative. Everybody's different, but we've seen a lot of examples lately of Dallas guys moving that haven't exactly worked out like you wanted.
Yeah, I'd be super interested in a documentary or a book if something is, Dan, maybe you're aware of something that really digs into the whole universe of player transfers, sales, and the history of it, and how it changed with the Bosman ruling and all of that stuff. I don't know if any of that kind of currently exists, and if it doesn't, man, I think I would consume it in large quantities if it was.
I'm pretty sure there's some BBC stuff out there. I mean, they've had a lot of good documentaries over the years about the transfer market, following, some of the mega agents around like Jonathan Barnett.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
All right. Well, we'll see. If anybody knows any and would like to recommend them, I will accept them gladly. Buzz, you did go to training yesterday. I know you're now much loved Tuesday training, and you got to talk to Nico. Any insight from Mr. Estevez you'd like to share with us?
Yes, actually, the first thing is Paul Arriola. I think we should talk about him. He is day-to-day, as they would say. On Tuesday, he increased the amount of training he participated in up to about a third of the game, and then they had him run on the side. Coach said that they, with that step up, they were going to test him and check him after the session and see how it goes. And if everything went clean, then on Wednesday, he was going to step in even more. So coach said that they're anticipating that he will be in the decision process, which is their code for makes the bench at least. He's in the 18 basically. So he did tell me that the stuff with Paul has mainly just been a precaution. They're not particularly worried about it. So I'm going to assume at this point that he is available, and there's a pretty good chance that he'll start. Jesus obviously I think would be back in there. So I think you're going to see, with the small caveat that he is coming back off of a little bit of a protective sit out. I think Ariel will be available, and worst case scenario, knock on wood, it'll be a bench performance, but I'm actually going to predict the start. Everybody else looks pretty much back to normal. There's not a lot of injuries right now, so everything's going really well. I did ask, we've had a lot of debate about the 5 sub rule in our Discord and on this podcast. So I asked Nico if he liked it, and he says that he does like it because for 2 reasons. I know, but he's a coach, so of course he likes it. He likes it because it allows him to effectively do squad rotations without benching a guy outright, right? He can just lift Paxton at 60 minutes and lift Arriola at 60 minutes, when you got guys that are, slightly banged up or whatever. Or if you want to do some rotation, you can bring Brandon out early one game, Paxton out early the next game. And that, since you only have one sub for them in Siki. So you have those kinds of things, which he likes. And then the other thing he said was that up until now, FC Dallas, and this is actually a thing I hate, FC Dallas have been working on one particular system of play. And he said once they get it down, he wants to bring in a second system of play. And so the 5 subs allows him as a coach to make a single substitution moment, bring in 3 guys, and fundamentally change the Dallas system and play in a completely different way. So like as a coach, he thinks that's great. I think it sucks. I hate that. I think it's cool that you have the ability to do that. I think you need to be able to do it with who you have on the field. That's the nature of soccer to me, is that idea of the guys on the field are going to play, so those are for him why he likes it. And I understand them completely. I just disagree completely or wish that he couldn't do those things because they're things I don't specifically want to have happen.
Yeah. You and I are on the same page. I am not a fan of the 5 substitutes. I understand why coaches love it and players like it. What I get frustrated by is the suggestion that it's all about player welfare. And I just think, look, guys, if we're going to do this, let's all be honest about why we're doing it and quit calling it something that it's not. Because if you were truly invested in player welfare, you would institute a rule that would help all the players, not just a few select players in any given moment in time. Because there are other models of how you could solve for player welfare that would be no less or more fair across the board, but that's not what they're doing. And that's what pisses me off.
As an FC Dallas fan, what this reason I wanted to bring it up specifically was because as an FC Dallas fan, as you're watching the games going forward, keep an eye on Nico subbing, because no longer is it just going to be like a guy got tired or a guy is playing bad. You're now going to see him use substitutions as part of the squad rotation. So when you see guys come out at 60 minutes or so, don't necessarily assume it's because that dude wasn't doing good. It might just be 100% of a workload kind of thing because he now has the luxury to do that. And then also look for these tactical shifts. It's not always as simple as Jesus for Franco Jara, an active, more talented player. It might be, in some other cases, it might be to go to that 4-4-2 that they've done early in the season, which they do sometimes. So there's a different kinds of subs you're going to be seeing this season with these 5 subs. And I think it's important to recognize that as a fan and look for
Okay, this is a good time to ask this question because, in terms of using substitutions for player rotation and so forth, Dan, I don't know if you've heard anything. Is there any word that they are or they ever began looking for additional supplemental help in the middle of the field, i.e. being able to spell Cervania and Paxton outside of the draft pick?
Still haven't heard anything on that front.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just Siki. The adaptation they've made is that they've started using Khalil and El Madkour in that spot, in that 8 position. And part of that is because Khalil is now even further down the depth chart at wing because of Velasco and Arriola coming here. But he also has a little bit of size, which they are light on in the midfield. And if he can play that position and bring other respectability to it, I think in the short run, certainly you're going to see him get opportunities in that. That's basically how they've short run solved that idea, is have Khalil play in there. Don't forget Nicky Hernandez too also plays in there. I don't necessarily think Nicky's ready to take that role in on a game, and he's not making benches by any stretch. He is actually a guy I think needs to go out on loan somewhere to a championship team. But so short term Khalil's the answer. Other than that, they're waiting for Thomas.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is the latest on old Thomas Roberts?
Same as we were, his people tell me that they're really happy and the club really likes him and they're trying to develop him long term, but there's no buy. And I even asked Nico about that. Like, are you waiting to have Thomas back and looking forward to get him in? And he's like, well, I'm not even sure whether his team's going to want to keep him or not. I don't even know if I'm getting him. And I'm like, come on, you don't have a buy. Of course you're getting him back. Even if it's for a very short period of time, maybe they're going to come in with a fat offer after that. But like right now you're getting him back. So, he was kind of non-committal about it.
Yeah.
To be fair.
And so getting him back is July after their season's over.
Yeah, basically, yeah. As long as it takes him to come home effectively. So when their season ends, he could be here within a couple of days easily, back in training.
Okay.
I think technically it's end of May.
Yeah, probably.
I think.
Yeah.
So not that far away, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, Dan, let me just give you a slight nudge. Make sure you're still here and awake, because we're at the end of the podcast now. You don't have to do anything. It's over.
I know.
Okay.
I want to talk about the Dallas Cup. I'm
sorry. I totally forgot. Yes, that's an entire section of the podcast I failed to get to. It is that time of year. It's the best part of the season. It is Dallas Cup season. It's back, and it's all its glory, or pretty much all its glory.
Well, that I'm concerned about the FC Dallas part of it, but I would highly recommend any of it to anybody. There's a lot of the Cotton Bowl is always fun that opening day with the parade and usually some relatively good games. The super group is back, which is excellent. It's a pretty small super group, but it will be a really high level of play, I assume. The Super 14s didn't come back, which is probably is related to COVID as much as anything. But the GA Cup is happening, and the 17s and the 15s are both in that one. There's a bunch of good teams in that thing. And if you want to look for good FC Dallas specific games to watch, I've had a couple people tell me that the Dallas is looking at overloading the 17s. And I actually, in hindsight, I think that some of that, when they went out and crushed that St. Louis 14-0. I think a lot of that actually was a Dallas Cup tune-up in the sense as they brought down a bunch of dudes and loaded that team up, and I think they're going to load that team up and try and make a run at GA Cup because they never won it. Particularly of note, they're playing that same St. Louis team again.
Do you know what day that game is and where they're playing it?
Yes, it's. I have that right here in front of me. It is. Oh, it's down at the bottom of the article. Buzz, nice job. That is the second game, which is April 11th. That's Monday.
It's the
right?
Monday game. Yeah, that would be Monday.
Yeah, 9 a.m. on Field 7 at Toyota. That'll be a rematch of that game.
You have to.
So they have the 7 teams are playing the Crew, the St. Louis City, and Cholos Club Tijuana. Those are the 3 opponents. So if you're looking for pure Dallas talent, that team will be loaded up. If you specifically want to see Tariq Scott, who's the kid that scored 2 goals for Texas, I'm told he's probably playing most of the time with the U19 team. Now, you guys, I've talked about this a lot, the fact that there's a bunch of young players playing up with the U19 team, and that's true. So they're going to be pretty young compared to most of the groups that they're playing against. But there's a bunch of good players in that team too. So, and then the U15s are also quite talented, and so are the U14s. So any of the academy teams, the 4FC Dallas Academy teams are worth watching, in my opinion. So there's a quick GA Cup versus Dallas Cup primer. I will tell you in advance. I think that the keeper Julian Ison, that's the 17-year-old keeper, the one who's 6'6" and is such a huge prospect. I think he's hurt, so I don't think he's going to play in the GA Cup, which is unfortunate because that would have been a nice player for people to go look for and see. But that 17 team is going to be stacked with talent, so people should go watch that one for sure.
Yeah, this is the first Dallas Cup in several years where there are now international teams, but the limitation, the reason why you're not seeing a lot of the big-name clubs is because the tournament was only told and cleared by the U.S. Soccer Federation really late to allow those types of invitations, and by the time they got the ability to do that, clubs globally were just like, look, we can't work it out. It'll probably be next year before we start to see the return back to the real the typical Dallas Cup type of lineups, especially at the supergroup level. So, if you've never been to the Dallas Cup, it's important to know there are only 2 sets of games where you have to get tickets, and those are the games at the Cotton Bowl on day 1, which is kind of the opening and all the pomp and circumstance around that. There's usually 3 or 4 games at the Cotton Bowl on that first day, and then the games that are held inside Toyota Stadium that are all the playoff rounds, and those you need the championship rounds. That's what you need tickets for. But for the games that are being played at MoneyGram or Richland College or up at Toyota Soccer Center outside the stadium, those are free for you to go to. And the Dallas Cup website will give you all the listings. They've got an app. You can find the teams. They're always great to go to, and I can't recommend highly enough to go soak in Dallas Cup games when you are given the opportunity. They are fantastic.
Yeah, and
honestly,
go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, there's honestly nothing like going totally unprepared to Richland or MoneyGram and just walking around.
Yeah.
Take in a game, kind of figure out what age group it is, what the teams are, and kind of like just immerse yourself in it without actually it's just such a different experience of like when you go to an MLS game and you know the teams, you know what to expect, mostly because you've listened to this podcast. And yeah, it's like just pure soccer.
Yeah, the GA Cup had gone away for a year, and then the pandemic happened. I think they were trying to move it away and due to other venues, but because I think this is the first one post-pandemic, they've come back here again. And the GA has the U17 and U15 group, which are kind of loaded up like super groups. So the 19 super group is stacked. The 17s and the 15s for the GA Cup are stacked. And there's quality teams all throughout the Dallas Cup, boys and girls side too. There's a bunch of really good girls games as well. So you remember the girl we saw in the championship last year, Peter, that was so spectacular.
Yeah, what was her name? Gosh, she was good. Yeah, no, she was good. The thing about going to Dallas Cup is to Dan's point, you walk around and you'll see a Japanese team, and you'll be amazed at just how the similarities and the differences. And then you'll go to another field and there'll be an El Salvadorian team or a team from Africa Or on a typical year, you'll see a bunch of kids wearing the jersey of one of the clubs that you watch every weekend, and you realize that these are the kids that make up their academy, and that there's a really cool element of seeing that in the flesh. That is my favorite part. It's really, really good. It's so much fun. So go see Dallas Cup games, please, everybody. All right. Now that we've done all that, anything else we want to do? Now, Dan, I think the podcast is over. It's okay. You're all done. You're lifted from the.
I've got one little nugget.
I love nuggets. What's your nugget?
Just one. So, Buzz was talking to Nico. I also spent a second talking to Nico because I was, people keep asking in Discord, what's with the wet field? And, we kind of like hypothesize it's probably X, Y, or Z. So I was like, well, why not ask the man himself? So he says, kind of the main thing that we thought was maybe it's just, speed up the passing game, get that zip on the ball. He said, yeah, absolutely. One thing he doesn't like about a dry or sticky field is how it holds the ball up and in the bounce for the defense. It kind of just gives them a little bit more of an advantage on a second ball. And so, it's been a big thing. The players have encouraged it as much as he has. So that's why you see people slipping around a lot.
Interesting. All right. Well, when you want an answer, you go to the source. Good reporting on your part, Dan.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It's okay. You can leave now and go take a nap because you sound very sleepy.
No, I just stuffed up like crazy.
Are you taking your allergy pills? Your Zyrtec?
Yeah, it did absolutely nothing for me.
Flonase didn't work for you either?
I didn't take that.
Well, you should try it. Work some cocaine. That'll help too. That's what Buzz told me.
It sounded like a ringing endorsement from Buzz then.
That's what Buzz... Buzz loves to talk about cocaine.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Thanks. It's good talking to you, dude.
You too.
All right. Buzz, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Can't wait to the Dallas Cup.
Man, if you guys... And here's the other thing. If you see Buzz at the Dallas Cup, go say hello to Buzz. He loves to meet and greet people. So go over, shake his hand, tell him how much you love his work, and let him meet you.
Well, the one caveat...
ask him who the number 67 is.
Yeah, the one caveat is that please don't stand there and talk to me for an hour because I'm probably taking notes on the game. But for sure, come up and... don't distract me from the game. But come up and say hello. I want to meet everybody. I want to talk to people. But don't then badger my ear off for an hour while I'm trying to watch the Dallas Cup.
Badger him in between games.
Who's that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who was that about?
Nobody specifically. I'm not trying to be a jerk.
Oh, I know who it's about.
Yeah. Who would you say was?
No, I'm not going to say.
No, you can tell me what number one. No, it's about no one specifically. And I love to talk soccer with as much as anybody. But like if I'm taking notes on a game, I'm trying to work. I'm trying to get this thing going. So I can't spend an hour talking to you about the U14 team. Come say hello. Yes, I love everybody. Come meet me. And tell me your name so I know who you are, but don't stand there for an hour asking me questions. That's all. I'm a jerk. I know. I'm sorry.
Hi, this is Jed Johnson again. Remember, Third Degree is sponsored by Soccer 90, located at Toyota Stadium next to the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Check out all of the new soccer gear that's been arriving and shop Soccer 90 for all of your FC Dallas needs. All Third Degree listeners receive 20% off their purchase when you use code Third Degree at checkout on soccer90.com. Some exclusions may apply.
Okay, so the lesson learned is stay away from Buzz. That's what don't listen to Peter.
Especially on a cocaine binge.
That's not the lesson. It's not the lesson.
Buzz on a cocaine binge at a Dallas Cup game. That's very funny to me. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you, FC Dallas Curious Fan. We will speak to you next week on another edition of Third Degree, the podcast.
Seriously, watch the Dallas Cup.
I'm not a bad person.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.